And this time it's a good afternoon. Welcome back for part 2 of today's Grade A Power Plays on April 8th, 2025. This morning, quick rundown of what we did, just in case if you got onto this video and you didn't look at part 1. We basically spoke about New Jersey against Boston, and we also got a prop or two from the Chicago-Pittsburgh game. Now, for the other games that I was waiting for, line arrangements. So I will say I was kind of interested in Detroit and Montreal, but I definitely see more money available and a more profitable game. So I actually scratched out Detroit and Montreal at my notes. We have Carolina and Buffalo. Now, news here. On the Carolina side, Jordan Staal is back. That's a good thing. What's the bad thing? The bad thing for Carolina is they're on the road. So basically what you mainly would do is your top two offensive scoring lines would do their best to stay away from the Jordan Staal line. It's Staal, Svechnikov, and Martinook is there. So some regular lines combinations will be there. Like Aho, Jarvis, and Blake will still be there, but Rosovic, Stankoven, and Taylor Hall will now be on line 2. Now that Staal is back, Staal will be back with Svechnikov on line 3 and Martinook. And they'll still have the same defenseman pairing. But once again, as I said, they'll be on line 2. Now, what my original note start was going to be going over to now to the Buffalo side, another line 2 that has been playing very well. And by the way, if you haven't really paid attention, yeah, they stink. So they're not playing for anything. They're just playing to see how well they can end the season. About 6 or 7 games, I would say, Buffalo has left. And in their last 10, Buffalo's 7-3 quietly. Obviously, it's easy to look over a non-playoff team, but they have been playing well. And the strength of that line has really been, yes, Tage has been playing well. 11 points in the last 10 games. But the consistency of points has been coming from that line 2, McLeod, Peterka, and Alex Tuch. Well, unfortunately, Alex Tuch is no longer on line 2. They switched the right side. Jack Quinn was on the right side of line 3. He's now on the McLeod-Peterka line. So I actually had notes of combining the Buffalo line 2. Plus, now that that's off, Tuch now only plays with Peterka on the power play, because he used to be on line 2. And now with that switch, McLeod is now by himself. McLeod is now on line 2 with Jack Quinn. So now with that switch, there's power play 2 correlation, but there's no longer power play 1 correlation, and there's no more power play 2 correlation with a better scorer or better finisher in Tuch. So honestly, before you want to maybe still check some things. I mean, Quinn should still be up here if I'm not mistaken. No, he's not up here, so that sucks for this side. So if anything, the best prop to me is, besides taking McLeod and JJ Peterka, which is a prop that I like, and his odds just went up again. This is now plus 236. JJ and Peterka. McLeod and JJ. When I had it earlier, it is 226. So I'm definitely going to take that. But it's the line 2 line that I want to focus on. What is it that I love? And obviously before, if Tuch was on the line, guess what? It was plus 400. The odds went back up, so it's probably like plus 425. It would have been 425 if Tuch was on line 2. My favorite prop, which is I'm going to enter it while everybody's here looking at it. The reason why I did pay attention to this, and let me get this before anything changes, 236. And then I'm also going to make sure I get Mr. McLeod by himself for plus 146. Buffalo and Carolina has 2 games played already. I think this is their last matchup, if I'm not mistaken. Possibly. It could be. I'll have to check. I would have to look at some scheduling real quick in the background. But why am I singling off McLeod? No, not because it's nice points. In the 2 games that they've played, like I said, this is the third and final game. The Sabres won at home on January the 15th, and then they lost at Carolina 5-2. Now, obviously, you would think, maybe you want the power plays, and even though Buffalo is improving over their last 10 games, they still take penalties. Well, if there's one thing you want a surefire bet, the surefire bet is this is not the same Carolina team. And we've seen their defense get eaten up. And like I said, the top two lines are going to stay away from the star line. And Mr. McLeod is pretty much this year's MVP against the Hurricanes. In 2 games, the man has 4 points. So he's been the main consistent player against the Hurricanes, whether it's on the road and home. Like I said, the Sabres won the first game at home, and then they won the second one. And this was also around February and still in January when McLeod was still on the third line before they moved him up. So no matter whether if it's at home, what line they put him on, McLeod creates against Carolina. So I love this prop right here. As you can see, I didn't hit it in time because it did go down a bit. But I do have McLeod by himself just in case. So that's my favorite prop from there. As usual, you all can look at the power play points, which are all pretty decent. Aho plus 190. Everybody else is 220 and better. Now, off to the next game that I wanted to check out because, like I said, it's definitely a game that I like to bet, and I normally at least hit a couple of bets on this. We're going to go straight to Florida and Florida hosting Toronto. Now, here's the key on this one. Barkov is back. As I did end the video talking about the Florida line. Barkov is back. Now, with Barkov back, there's one prop that I had written down in a star. Now I'm going to have to take it away. My favorite prop actually was a shot ladder with Anton Lundell. Lundell, without Barkov the last couple of games, has literally gone 3, 4, 4, and 5 shots on goal. Now, can he still do that? Yeah, possibly. Because Bennett's still not there. But now with the line combinations, the official line combination is now Barkov, Verhaeghe, Reinhart, Lundell, E2D2, along with Marchand. And then you have Rodriguez, Samoskevich, and Jesse Puljujarvi. Those are the main guys right there. So, I did like the shot on goal prop. It's still something takeable, but I don't think I feel comfortable with the latter. Because the boost in shots happened with no Barkov. That's when... And then he also went over, he doubled his prop to 3 when it was 1.5. Barkov started, but he didn't finish. So basically, Lundell has been a shot machine and has had the opportunity to go way above his prop basically for 4.5 games since Barkov's injury. But now that Barkov is back, we're going to correlate 1 and 1 together, even though Bennett's not there to run line 2 and now Lundell is there. Lundell's probably the main shooter. If anything, I probably wouldn't do the latter. I'll probably just take... he should be here, so I probably would just take Lundell 2.5. That's the only thing I do. I don't think I feel comfortable with the latter. Like I said, his ceiling is limited with Barkov there, even though Marchand, not much of a shooter, E2D2, not much of a shooter. He'll get the setup. So Lundell still has free range, but I just feel the ceiling is there. Is just not as high without Barkov. So that's what I like there. Originally, when it comes to the previous games, like I said, I did the same thing like I did the last time. I really based it on the March game because obviously things have changed with trades and everything. Like I said, 5-1 was the first game. That was all the way back in November. So when we look at the last two, the main thing that's important is that the Toronto 2 line generates real well against Florida. Now, obviously, those last two games were in Toronto, so now they're back in Florida. But Toronto 2 still, regardless, at home or away, get away from the Barkov line. So, when it comes to props and points, once again, Tavares and Nylander, it's always a tight game, too. Besides the one blow-up, these two games go under 5, the last two. So I wouldn't count on much ruckus, but like I said, I do like certain props here. When I took the notes for this was plus 138. What is it now? Okay, it went up slightly. So I'll just take it now because it was 132 earlier. Tavares and Nylander. They stay away from the Barkov line, and obviously these guys are very important on the power play. And Florida still takes a lot of penalties. But here's the one thing that I'm not really going to do anything else. I'm not looking for any 2 points or anything like that in any of these games at all. But what I will do, if there's anything else that I would recommend, I mentioned it the last time these two teams played, so now the stats changed because another one was added. In the 3 games, the power play goals is now 5-1 Florida. So definitely now that we see who the power play is, and Bennett's not there, the power play is now Barkov, Reinhardt, Marchand is now on the power play, and he's a net front guy. So he'll be the net front just like how he used to be in Boston. Seth Jones and Sam Miskevich. So the power play, the power play odds are there. I definitely like, once again, Seth Jones for an assist, possibly, because he'll be running that power play. He'll have Barkov, he'll have Reinhardt, he'll have those guys there. But definitely, you're definitely going to be looking at an assist because it seems like he'll automatically get it because of the power play. So with the power play odds, what do we like here? Everything for that side is 200 and up. Panthers, even though they give up a lot of penalties, they still have a solid penalty kill, and the penalty kill gets better with Barkov there. Toronto has only managed 1 power play in the 3 previous games, so definitely favoring that side. So once again, Reinhardt. Maybe you want to wait to see if they add Barkov. The one thing about the power play odds that I always say again, the one thing I always say about the power play odds once again is, apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I am here at work, so I got to do what I got to do. But yes, back to the power play situation. I favor the Florida power play more than anything. So Bennett's not there; he's out. So you're really looking at Marchand, Samoskevich, Seth Jones, and Reinhardt. Like I said, if you want, you can wait to see if Barkov gets added. So once again, Bennett is not in. He is not in on the confirmed line. So do not pick Bennett for a power play. Do not pick him for a point. And last but not least, and then let's take a look at what is Mr. Seth Jones for an assist. Seth Jones, so what is he for a point? Seth Jones for a point minus 1100. So without looking at it, I'm gonna say somewhere between plus 126, plus 136 for an assist, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, plus 132. I was close. Okay. I was in that right range. So him for an assist is more than likely. That's a nice start right there. Seth Jones assist. Nylander Tavares. Seth assist. I'll mark that down for plus 132. And then I'll just mention one more and then I'll get out of here. Where are you guys? And yes, once again, all the games that I like, previous 710. Hopefully, when you see this, odds are about the same. As you can see just a little while ago, some odds improve. So hopefully you get some good odds here. Where is that game? I'm not talking about Detroit. More profitable. I am looking for, where are you? There we go. So what's funny about this game is I understand why it would be set, you know, with that over under of 6.5. I totally understand that. And they are on the road, and we all know, like within the past 2, even 3 weeks, the Blue Jackets are doing their best to try and hold on to some sliver of the playoffs. They're another team like Calgary that got to either go close to undefeated or at least a minimum of 4-2, 5-1, whatever they got left, just to hold on to a spot. But all these games so far, and all of them are recent. All of them are recent. The only difference is this is in Columbus. The games went under. And what people aren't understanding is the fact that Ottawa is playing really good and tough playoff hockey. Linus Allmark has really cemented in his role. He's looking like the Boston Allmark, literally like shutting down teams and not having them have a chance. So I really like the fact that how well Allmark is playing, and then on top of that, the defense for Ottawa has just gotten way better. It's not it's a somewhat of a high octane, inconsistent offense, and then nothing can happen. I really love the fact that Ottawa has finally, and this is a team that I've been waiting for, like for 2, 3 years. Like, who's taking the next turn? I was like, is it this Ottawa team who seems to do these free agent moves and doesn't seem to gel together, or is this young Buffalo team that has this young superstar and then really hasn't you know taken full advantage of that situation? But anyway, on top of that, what I like here is the opportunities here. The highest odds for a point by himself is minus 200, and then everything gets better from there. So the parlay odds are there. So if you're thinking of any ruckus, any craziness at all in these games, let's take a look. And I think these are confirmed because some of these teams did have a practice yesterday. Okay, so first and foremost, everything seems to be right here because once again, I think they're saving him for the playoffs. No Brady Kachuk. So on the Ottawa side, and yes, it is a good power play matchup for them. It is a solid matchup. It is a solid matchup for these guys. So power play wise, line wise, definitely it's still the top two lines. With Stutzler, Giroux, you still got the good old Cousins and Batherson combo. That right now together is plus 154 after being somewhat priced down. That's the highest it's been maybe in a couple of days. Stutzler being almost the highest, and then you have Giroux or you have Zetterlin, who's damn near plus money, and Giroux plus money. The top line is 339. On top of that, with no Brady Kachuk, I think if I'm not mistaken, no, it's Ridley Grieg that's there. So Grieg is random. I really thought it's Fabian Zetterlin, but Fabian Zetterlin hasn't really done that much. But yes, that second line is still a great price. Perron, Dylan Cousins, and if you have Batherson, put them together. That's plus 351. Now on the Columbus side, and then we should be able to end this video. On the Columbus side, when we look at that, they're at home, and when they're at home, who's that? Who's the main line? Yes, there's been people holding it down in the lower six, but when it comes, that top line has been playing great offensively. Defensively is a whole other situation, and like I said, I really think Ottawa can suppress them, but even when they're down, for betting purposes, that top line gets the points. So if you're looking at Moynihan, Jenner, and Marchenko, all those three together plus 201, possibly not great, maybe better off in pairs. If you go a little further down, you look at Adam Fantilli, and then you have Kent Johnson. They're plus 210 by themselves. Looking at the power plays, assists, I would say Werenski's probably like minus 140. Okay, minus 132. Looking at the power play odds should be pretty decent. Yeah, everybody's 250 and up. But I obviously favor the Ottawa side than the Columbus side because, like I said, that Ottawa defense has been great the past month or pretty much past four nations. Like after a week, after the Four Nations break, give it like a week and a half. That's when the goalie play has just been even more consistent, and that defense has been very solid. But here you go. There is part two. Those are my plays and recommendations for tonight. That is it. Hopefully you get those plays in. Once again, all the early games. I don't even think I picked in part one or part two a 7:30 game. All of these are at 7. I think there's 7:30, 8:30, and then I have nothing left after even past 9. We'll be sweating out our best together from 7 to 10, the opening block of the slate. This is grade A fantasy with grade A power plays. This is the end of part 2. Now that we have a ton of line confirmations, or basically line confirmations of what I was focusing on. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good luck tonight. See you at 7:10.